So imagine being all alone. You have no food or water or shelter or anybody to take care of you. Thankfully, none of us have experienced that feeling, but millions of domestic animals are left homeless all over the world. I'm here to talk to you about the goods that the True Friends Animal Welfare Center in Montrose does for many homeless animals. And I'm credible for this because my family and I volunteer over at the shelter, and I know firsthand about the inner workings of the facility. The first thing I'm going to be talking about is the history of ASPCA. It stands for the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, and it was established in April 10th, 1866 by Henry Burke in New York City. And he believed that all animals were entitled to kind and respectful treatment to us humans. ASPCA's provide a safe shelter and food for many stray and unwanted animals that were left cruelly on the streets. There were two types of shelters, one being the euthanizing facility, which most were at the time, and what they did is that they gave an animal a lethal injection of sodium thiopental, which is the stuff that we use to put our animals to sleep, and of course it was done humanely. And then you got the non-euthanizing facility, which is very rare. And up until the late 1990s, the ASPCA's were completely cut, and they were operated by state governments. And in the late 1990s, the funding was cut, and many ASPCA's closed due to the lack of funding. The True Friends Animal Welfare Center. It was originally founded in the 1930s as the Susquehanna County Humane Society in Montrose. It serviced both Susquehanna and Wyoming counties, and it was funded primarily by government, like I said before, and it was a euthanizing facility, as most were at this time. And it's where most pets had a cutoff date of 7 to 10 days before they were euthanized. If they didn't get that perfect donor within 7 to 10 days, then they had to be put down. And another reason why they would euthanize the animal is because it had to do with overpopulation in the building. Like, if there were too many animals to take care of, you couldn't afford it, so therefore you had to put them down. It was a way to save money. So the Animal Welfare Center today. In 2011, the government completely cut off the funding, therefore many of the shelters closed. And then the True Friends Animal Welfare Center was reestablished in April 2011 by this wonderful woman named Dory Browning. She's the new director, and she has it run completely funded by donations. And she also believed that there is all hope for all the animals in the shelter, believing that even if it takes years to find that perfect donor, they'll strive to find the perfect person for them. So here she is with her two dogs, the brown one and the giant boxer. And this was over at a Christmas convention. And what's really special is that the black and white dog over at the right side of her is actually, it used to be my dog. We adopted him 2 days after this picture was taken. And his name is Boomer, but I'll talk to you about him later. Your typical day at True Friends. There's a tremendous amount of work to be done, and everything is sanitized each morning, whether it be the kennels, the dishes, or the floors. And all animals, 100 and more, are fed and watered and walked, and approximately takes 3 hours to do. Throughout the day, the animals do continue to be walked and watered and fed, and they're also showed to prospective owners. And so your typical day at the shelter is very busy. So here it is. You got so many dishes to clean, and then you see the kennels, which is a very huge area because they house so many animals. And what's special about the dishes is that you have to clean the feeding bowls, the water dishes, and even though it's gross, you have to clean the litter boxes too. And that's what's really hard about it because it takes so much work. And so the shelter does depend on you as a person. Volunteers are desperately needed for the shelter to succeed, and they also decrease monthly expenses, which means that if you, the more volunteers you have, the less employees you have to pay to get the job done because they're very low on funding, and it really helps if you have more volunteers. You could also donate food and leashes and cleaning supplies, but there's a whole list of it on the website of truefriends.com. And I know how much of you love Facebook so much, so you could also connect with them. They do have their own Facebook page. And you could also adopt and volunteer and donate. Either way, it really helps because they'd really appreciate it. They do need a lot of help. I'll show you some pictures of the animals that I've worked with. And what's special is that these two puppies, Marlis and Cambria, Marlis is the brown one and Cambria is the black one. And what's so significant about them is that I fostered them for about a month to see how they would act in a family situation. And when we first saw them, we thought that they were like really special to us, and we decided to just take them in for the fostering. And after about a month later, after fostering them, they turned out to be out of hand because when they were together, they had separation anxiety because they were both sisters and they loved each other so much. But after we took them back to the shelter, our good friend who works over at the elementary school named Miss Oaks adopted Marlis, but she couldn't take Cambria just because Cambria wouldn't get along well with the other dogs that she had. So thankfully Marlis is doing well over at Miss Oaks, and Cambria is doing fine as well because last time we visited, she acted like there was nothing wrong. I'm pretty sure she does miss her sister, but overall she's doing great. And then here's some more animals that I've worked with. This little dachshund over at the top left corner is Willie. He's a pretty shy boy, but he's really sweet. And then you have this beagle mix named Mooney. I do not come up with these names, they just come with the animal. And then you got Malia, another beagle mix. And then you have the gentle giant, the giant black dog right there. His name is Grady. He's a Staffordshire mix. And he may look big and dangerous when really he's not. Like, I know most people get the misconception that big dogs like Staffordshire are huge, like a pit bull, and dangerous. But really, when I got to meet him, he was like a people pleaser. He loved to play with the toys. He liked to come up with me and look me in the face, like in that picture right there. And then you have Dover in the middle right here. And what's special about him is that he's also a people pleaser, like Grady. But what's really special about him is that he's a hound, so he likes to retrieve stuff for you, like a lot more than Grady does. And over at the shelter, it's a really good feeling because you get to like know these dogs, and they just have amazing personalities. Like it's like meeting new friends. That's what's special about it. You make connections with them. And as you all know, a lot of them are available for adoption. So if you ever want them, they're ready for you. But it's not just me that works over at the shelter. My two little brothers, Kane and Cohen, they love to play with the cats over at the playroom. And the one cat that they really love the most is named Chloe. And that's what's special about the shelter. You find that one animal that you find is so special to you, and you just like to make connections with them. You like to make memories with them. And that's how I felt with this beagle mix, another beagle mix named Clancy. And this was back in the fall when I used to play with him. But then a week after I posted this picture, he got adopted. And what's really special about it is that you never know how long an animal has to wait for that perfect owner to come. But I did have a feeling that he was going to get an owner sooner or later. And when he did leave the shelter, I did feel very happy that he got a home, but at the same time I felt a bit heartbroken just because I was going to miss him. And then I told you I was going to talk to you about Boomer. Boomer is one of the greatest success stories we've ever had over the shelter because we adopted him from the shelter, and what happened is we first saw him and we thought that he was going to be a great addition to the family, like we did with Marlis and Cambria before. But there was some history behind him, and what happened is he had an abusive owner who would not take him out to the vet regularly. Therefore, he developed these really gross chronic ear infections. Thankfully, we saved him from that, and it took a heck of a lot of work. And then after that, he adjusted well to our family situation, and he really adjusted well to our other dog on the right corner of the picture with him on the doggy bed. And then two years after we adopted him, he passed away because he was diagnosed with cancer. When he left me, I felt like part of me was gone, but I had to realize that overall we gave him a loving home, and that's what we wanted. We wanted him to have like a loving family and a home because we felt like he deserved it. And that's what happens when you see that special dogger with the shelter. You feel like they deserve a home and a loving family. He was a gentleman, and I still miss him. So in conclusion, I've talked to you about the history of ASPCA, what it's like today, and the animals I've worked with. And I encourage you to someday support the shelter, whether it be a donation or funding or volunteering. But either way, they'll really appreciate it. And furthermore, my family and I are going to be hosting a 5K race over at Lake Carey in April 2015. And if you want to run, then that's cool too, because there'll be awesome prizes. Or if you want to bring your four-legged friend over, whether it be a dog or a cat or even your horse, that'd be great. But anyway, if you'd like to help us out, please do so.